since the pandemic is being monitored and we are making necessary adjustments according to how the pandemic is also moving. And for now, we have these physical interactions. Should change necessitate us to go back to virtual, we will let you know. And it's also good that all of you got tested before you came here. So we want to thank you for also bearing with us on all these changes that you have to go through to come to the palace. We would like to welcome Yoneko FM for the first time at the palace, and thank you for coming. This is how we will proceed this morning. We will hear an update of what the president has been doing in the past 2 weeks. Remember that we are meeting every fortnight, and we will also get to know what President Chakwera intends to do in the next coming 2 weeks. So, and thereafter, we will be able to take some of your questions. But once again, thank you for coming, and feel free. We are here for a win-win situation. You, the members of the press, you take this opportunity to get reactions from the presidency, and we also use the same opportunity to tell you and inform the nation what the presidency is up to. So we appreciate that every time we invite you, you honor our invites, and we don't take that for granted. With those welcoming remarks, let me now call upon the Executive Assistant to the President, who is also the Director of Communications, Mr. Sean Kampondeni, to give us an update. Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Brian Banda, Press Secretary to the President, members of the press, Malawians everywhere from Chitipa to Nsanje and in the diaspora. Thank you for joining us. We count it a privilege to bring you this update with regard to the President's activities and his diary from the previous week as well as the week that is currently upon us. However, there is an emerging matter that I would like to dispense with, because I know that it is the subject of much inquiry and curiosity for Malawians related to a press conference that was held yesterday by the former President of the Republic of Malawi, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, which was held at his residence in Mangochi. And I know that Malawians of all walks of life have been curious as to what the President's position is on some of the things that were said by his predecessor. And so I wanted to make a passing comment on the same before we proceed to the matters at hand. Now, former President Arthur Peter Mutharika addressed a press conference in his capacity as President of the Democratic Progressive Party, and he was in the company of other party officials at that press conference. Now, there were 5 categories of issues that he raised. First, there were issues that were of a personal nature, which, out of respect for the former president and the office he once held, will not be addressed from this podium, because to do so would be to drag the presidency and the State House down to the level of pettiness. By personal, I am referring to remarks the former president made denigrating the president for the manner in which he visited him at his residence in Mangochi. If the former president has issues with the manner in which he was visited by President Chakwera, who went to see him in a show of solidarity and kindness, we expect the former president to take up those issues with the president personally, and so we will not address those issues here out of respect for him. And secondly, another personal matter was names that the former president was using to refer to the current president, and the president will not respond to the name calling because that is inappropriate for somebody sitting in the office of the president, or for that matter, somebody that has sat in that office before, and therefore we will not respond to those personal insults. Another issue that is of a personal nature is the former president seemed to complain about his personal legal battles and laying the blame on this administration for freezing his personal accounts. It is a matter of record that in this country, the judiciary is independent as well as law enforcement agents. And so it is fully expected that where the former president has issues to do with his own personal legal battles, he would do precisely what every Malawian who has a case in court has to do, which is to appeal to the courts and to win his case before an independent court. And so the President of Malawi, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, has nothing to say about those personal battles. In fact, President Chakwera spoke in an interview with Times Exclusive on June the 1st that he is not involved in any of that. He does not know how many bank accounts former President Mutharika has, nor does he know what is in those accounts or where that money came from. That is why those issues are being handled by independent law enforcement agencies and are being handled by the courts. The President is not involved in former President Mutharika's personal legal battles, nor will he be dragged into being involved in the same. And so that remains the President's position. So that is the President's response on the issues that were personal in nature. Second category of issues that were raised by former President Mutharika is to do with allegations he made against the President's party, the Malawi Congress Party. The Malawi Congress Party has a publicity directorate which is fully engaged in formulating a robust response to those things, and therefore the State House brief will not deal with those issues that are to do with the party, Malawi Congress Party. Suffice to say that the President of Malawi, who is also President of Malawi Congress Party, does not take too kindly to some of the allegations leveled against the Malawi Congress Party, especially issues that have to do with allegations to the effect that the Malawi Congress Party is involved in the compromising of national security. So the Malawi Congress Party will take on those issues directly, and so Malawians can look forward to that at an appropriate time. Another category that was raised by former President Mutharika were issues to do with policy. He alleged that this administration under President Lazarus Chakwera has no policy direction. The President is amazed that all of the policy direction that has been given by this administration has escaped the notice of the former president, and we wonder where the former president has been over the course of the past year. The President, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, has adequately given policy direction on a number of issues. And just to name a few, the President has given policy direction on the fight against the pandemic, which has resulted in the institution of guidelines that have assisted this country to have a robust response to the pandemic and to bring positivity rates down from 40% as of December 31st down to less than 5% as of 2 months ago. We don't know where the former president was when those policy directions were being given, but they happen in this country. Secondly, the president gave policy direction publicly on matters to do with mining, when the president addressed the nation and created a roadmap for how the mining industry is going to be regulated in this country going forward, moving away from the Mutharika administration's entertainment of chaos in the mining industry. We don't know where the former president was when this policy direction was being given, but it happened in this country. The president, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, gave policy direction publicly on matters to do with public sector reform. When the president spoke adequately on the areas of public sector reform, and in partnership with his vice president, Right Honorable Dr. Saulos Chilima, created a task force that implemented that policy direction and created a report at the end of a 90-day review of the entire public service, which is now the subject of study and scrutiny, which is going to guide how the public sector is going to be reformed going forward. We do not know where the former president was when this policy direction was being given, but it happened in this country and seems to have escaped this notice. At the same time, it was on the 12th, I believe, of May, if not June, that the president stood on the floor of Parliament and gave a comprehensive State of the Nation address, giving not only policy direction for this country, but giving policy direction to cover the period of 4 years. We do not know where the former president was when this policy direction was being given, which is now informing how all of the state institutions are going to band together to focus on job creation, wealth creation, and the creation of food security. But that policy direction was given in this country. So we appeal to the former president to pay attention to what is happening in this country. And so the policy direction is being given and is being implemented, and he just needs to open his eyes and pay attention. So that's category number 3. There is one category where we agree with the former president, and that is when he spoke on matters to do with the economy, that the economy is, there is a slowdown in economic activity, and obviously the Chakwera administration has given various explanations for the causing factors for those things, and also things to do with jobs. Hundreds and thousands of jobs have been created in the agricultural sector through the AIP, but also in the construction sector through the various projects that are being pursued. But hundreds and thousands of jobs is obviously not enough jobs in a country where you have 4 million young people that are unemployed. So we fully agree that there is still a lot of suffering that needs to be addressed. But part of that suffering, a big part of that suffering, comes from the context of the economy that President Chakwera inherited from former President Arthur Mutharika, an economy of 4 trillion kwacha debt that now President Chakwera has to somehow deal with and resolve, and it is being resolved. So we can say that we agree that there is a lot of suffering among Malawians. The president is fully aware of the suffering. He's in touch with the people. He's a president that's close to Malawians and sees their suffering and hears their pain and hears their outcry. And he is working around the clock on those issues to address them. Just last week, the president was meeting with the cabinet twice, immersed for hours in addressing these issues. But these are issues that Malawians are suffering because the country was in a state of economic disrepair, and the president and the vice president and all cabinet officials are working around the clock to address these issues that were created by the Mutharika administration, and they will be corrected in a methodical manner as the administration goes forward in this second year. And so it is not appropriate for anyone to make it seem like they are the only ones who notice the suffering of Malawians. The president knows the suffering of Malawians, and it's what keeps him up at night, is alleviating the suffering of Malawians and removing the bottlenecks to their progress. And the president is fully committed to addressing those issues on a daily basis. Lastly, fifth category of things that were brought to light by former President Mutharika, issues of state institutions. Now, I have to be emphatic on this point. Yesterday at that press conference, former President Mutharika suggested that the elections court case which was dispensed with by 5 judges of the High Court, judges who dispensed with that case independently, judges who dispensed with that case publicly, judges who have been recognized by international bodies such as Chatham House for having done the right thing by the laws of Malawi. Former President Mutharika just suggested that the decision that court made was unconstitutional and illegal and a coup against the government. That case went to the Supreme Court, and according to former President Mutharika, even the entire Supreme Court participated in a coup d'etat, he said. And then both of those courts ruled that there needs to be a fresh presidential election, which happened in this country on the 23rd of June, 2020. And millions of Malawians stood in line with their vote and cast their vote for a president of their choice. And former President Mutharika just suggested that millions of Malawians who stood in line on that day participated in a coup. And so the president does not share the view that the entire country of Malawi, all the millions of voters who stood in line, all 5 judges of the Constitutional Court, all 7 judges or 9 judges of the Supreme Court, both courts who ruled unanimously that all of them participated in a crime against the Constitution of this country. We find that position to be completely unacceptable and an insult to the Malawian people. And the Malawian people will be the judges of that opinion from the law professor, who is our former head of state. And so I wish to close on that note. That is our official response to some of the sentiments that were raised by the former head of state. If you allow me now, I'd like to quickly dispense with some of the issues that have come up from the President's diary for your information. As I mentioned in my earlier remarks, a week ago, Monday the 28th of June, President Lazarus Chakwera had a cabinet meeting, as is his duty, and that cabinet meeting was held here at Kamuzu Palace, and it lasted 4 or 5 hours and was done by 1 p.m. Following that, the President, in his quest to stay on top of the pandemic, met with the Minister of Health, Honorable Kumbize Chiponda, MP, in order to look into issues of the vaccine. As you know, we had a vaccine shortage in this country, and so the President was quite determined to see that those who receive the first dose can at least have access to vaccine shots for the second dose. And those vaccines should be in the country shortly, within a matter of days, in fact. President, on Tuesday, met with the National Planning Commission Chair, Professor Richard Mkandawire, so that he could be briefed on some of the progress being made in pursuit of Malawi 2063 agenda. As is his weekly practice, the President also met with the Secretary to the President and Cabinet, Mr. Zangazanga Chikosi, and then later that day he also met with Honorable Roy Kachale, Minister of Industry, because as I mentioned earlier, the President is very occupied in his mind with this agenda of creating jobs and creating wealth, and so he wants to see to it that the industrialization agenda is being pursued adequately. The President on Wednesday, the 30th of June, also held his second cabinet meeting within a 48-hour period, and then later on, in preparation for his trip to Zambia for the state funeral of late President Kenneth Kaunda, he met with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and then later that day he met with the CEO of the Tobacco Commission in order to track progress on some of the activity taking place in the tobacco farming industry there. He was then briefed at the end of his day by Reform representatives, because the President was going to be hosting a summit for heads of state from around the continent on matters of food systems and how to run food systems for the security of food for Malawians, but also for the African continent. The President began his new month on the 1st of July by welcoming two heads of mission from some of our development partners. On the same morning, he received letters of credence from the High Commissioner for the Republic of Nigeria, Ms. Zara Muazu Omar, who presented her letters of credence to His Excellency that morning, and she was followed by Mr. Ralph Andreas Timmerman, who is the new German ambassador. And so both of those happened on that Thursday morning. And then later that day, the President hosted his UN Pre-Food Summit for heads of state, which was well attended, and the President was chairing that particular interface. On Friday, the 2nd of July, the President flew out of Kamuzu International Airport and headed to Lusaka for the funeral, where he gave his eulogy and venerated the late President Kenneth Kaunda as a Pan-African hero who dedicated his life to the creation of a new generation of Pan-Africanists. And he returned the same day. He was back at Kamuzu International Airport around 6 p.m. on that same Friday. Now this week, the President is in office today, attending to documents that require his approval to give policy direction to various ministries at Capitol Hill, as is his practice every week. And then tomorrow, the President is going to attend Independence Day national prayers, which will take place at BICC, Bingu International Convention Center, here in the capital. It's going to be a small event. All other events around the country have been canceled out of sensitivity for the COVID situation, which is an evolving and moving target that requires constant review and constant changes in the approach in order for us to stay ahead of the curve of the movement of the pandemic. So the President is holding prayers in one location, and other locations have been suspended, and Malawians will be able to follow that function via television. Tomorrow, the President is going to meet with Vice President Right Honorable Dr. Saulos Chilima, as they do on a regular basis, touching base on their common approach to the administration. And at some point this week, although the date and time has not been confirmed yet, the President is looking forward to have an engagement with the Episcopal Conference of Malawi, which the President always appreciates, to hear their thoughts and their counsel. And so in a nutshell, those are some of the things the President is going to participate in, and he wishes all Malawians everywhere a happy Independence Day tomorrow. I thank you, and now leave you in the hands of the Press Secretary, who is going to take questions from the press. Mr. Brian Banda, if you may.
Thank you very much, Executive Assistant to the President and Director of Communications here at the State Residence. We will now take some of your questions. Please, if you may raise your hand, I will recognize you, and also introduce yourself and the media house that you are representing. Let's start with Mr. Alfred Chakwera.
Zikomo kwambiri, dzina langa ndi Alfred Chakwera, konkuja ku Nyasa Times. Funso langa ndi limodzi koma munali nthambi tiwiri. Dzulo ndithu kwachitidwa press conference ku Page House ekumangochi. A director communication afotokozapo zina bwana Kampondeni kutiunikira position ya State House. Koma mwina wanthu kunjaku chifukwa fundo zija zinali zambiri, akuzokhala ndi mafunso kuti chifukwa fundo yayikulu kwambiri imene anafotokoza ndikuti boma ndosavomerezeka komanso fundo imene anthu ayigwira kwambiri kunjaku ndikuyenera kuti chitengereni boma panopo palibe chimene boma ili cholozeka lapanga. Mwina timafuna kuti inu ngati State House mutatiunikirako kuti mwina ngati ayiwala bwanawo tidziwe kuti nchani chimene chachitikapo nthawi imeneyi. Zikomo kwambiri.
Zikomo kwambiri Mr. Chauwa. Ngati State House, the position imene Mr. Kampondeni ananena in terms of our reaction ndi imeneyo pa minute ngayankhire a former president. Ndipo I believe kuti Director of Communications analankhula momveka bwino on the insinuations that has been made by the former president. Koma mwina ndichite dwell much on your second part of your question imene munena kuti kodi boma la Chakwera lachita chani chilowereni pampando. Pali zinthu zambiri zimene zachitika. The fact that you are seated there inuyo mwabwera every fortnight kubwera kudzakhala pamenepo kwa kufunsa mafunso ku State House, President Chakwera and his government ndi umboni wa zinthu zina zimene President Chakwera wapanga kuti akhoza kulolani atola nkhani kubwera ku nyumba ya chifumu kuno ndi kumafunsa mafunso momasuka mmene mmachitiramu. It's a clear indication zimene boma la Mutharika sili mapanga. So pali zinthu zambiri timakamba nkhani ya AIP, Affordable Input Program. Over 3.8 million people, households, athandizika ndi arrangement imene ndipo umboni ulipo kuti chakudya ndichokwanira. In fact chinanso tigulitsa chifukwa njambiri. So I don't want to continue referring to the former president chifukwa he is our former president. Tiyenera kuapatsa ulemu. Tikupemphanso kuti iwo akamachita zinthu zawo adzidziwa kunena kuti ulemu nkupatsana. Pali nkhani ya crop production kuti yakwera kuchokera pa 3.4% mu chaka cha 2020 chifukwa cha AIP. Mabanja oposa 293,000 osaukitsitsa akhala kupindula chilowereni pampando President Chakwera mu njira ija ya social cash transfer. Ndipo mabanja 10,000 apindula ndi ntchito zimene amagwira kuti apezeke nakake. So ndi zinthu zoti zimenezi sizimachitika mbuyo mosemu. Ndiwo yankha funso lanu kuti kodi boma la Chakwera lachitanji. Mabanja oposa 160,000 amene amadalira samakhala ndi ndalama zokwanira akhala kuthandizika. They have been cushioned. Ndanena kale ndi nkhani ya cash transfers pomalandira 35,000 kwacha each for 3 months kuyambira mchaka cha January mpaka kuyambira mwezi wa January mpaka April 2021. Komanso ndalama zimene anthu amalandira zimene samadulidwa msonkho zinachoka kuchokera pa 45,000 kufika pa 100,000. Ndikukweza kuti olandira ndalama zochepetsetsa tichoke pa 35,000 kufika pa 50,000. Zimenezi zachitika mu boma la Chakwera. So mukandifunsa kunena kuti kodi apanga chani. These are some of the things kuti ukalandira 100,000 pasamakhomedwe msonkho. Komanso kuti minimum wage munthu idziyambira pa 50,000. Tikamba nkhani ya rule of law kutsatira kwa malamulo. A president akhala kumapita ku nyumba ya malamulo zimene a former president samapanga. amapita ku nyumba ya malamulo, akupita abe mpaka pano. Sikutinso amathawa, President Chakwera goes to parliament, akayitana, amapita kukayankha mafunso. Zimenezi ndi mmene ulamuliro wa dziko lino, malamulo a dziko lino amanena kuti mtsogoleri wa dziko adzipanga. Tachita table mabill, 8 bills, ndi kuchita pass, ndi kuchitanso gazette, over 100 subsidiary pieces of legislation. Pachitika zambiri, access to information. Kuti lero mukhoza kunena kuti kodi ndalama mwaziyendetsa bwanji, ndikupatsidwa mayankho moyenerera. Zimenezi zachitika mu boma la Mutharika, boma la Chakwera. Ndi a Mutharika asanene kunena kuti palibe chimene President Chakwera wachita. Pali zambiri, I can go on and on, but I can even give you zimenezo, because if we mention one by one, ndiye kuti siti sunga nthawi. Koma pali zinthu zambiri zimene zachitika mu boma limeneli la President Chakwera. Ku nkhani ya maphunziro, enrollment ya ku university yachoka pa 36,000 students mu chaka cha 2019-2020 kufika tsopano pa 45,809. That has happened under the leadership of President Chakwera. President Chakwera ananena kuti timangire nyumba anzathu security institutions. Ntchito imeneyo tinakaichita launch ku Karonga, if you remember, and zayambika kumangidwa despite the many promises the previous administration adaipanga. And we are talking of construction of 10,000 houses for security institutions, 4,000 houses for Malawi Defense Force, 4,000 houses for Malawi Police Service, 1,000 for Malawi Immigration Services, and 1,000 for Malawi Prison Service. Ndiye pali zinthu zambiri zimene tinganene. I wish we had more time. Komandi imene pomwepo President Chakwera, under his leadership, we have commenced the construction of Skills Center under Jobs for You. Gara Community Technical College in Karonga, Mbandira CTC in Kota, Namenjiwa CTC in Palombe, and in an Integrated Youth Development Center. So, pali zambiri zimene tapanga. I wish we had more time, but we cannot go one by one. Koma mafuna ndinene kunena kuti within a year we have done more. And ngati anthu sakutha kuona mwina ati apatse magalasi athe kuona zimene President Chakwera akupanga. Mr. Happy Saka.
Zombi brand zinanga ndine Happy Madika Saka. Ndine mafuso awiri plan. Fuso loyamba ndi nkhani yokhudzana ya misonkho. Malawi masiku awiri atatu apitawo analokhudzika kwambiri kuti boma la Tonse Alliance likukoza lijamati bill yoti anthu akagula katundu kunja, katundu ameneyo azilipiratu msonkho. Plani mdziko muno anthu apanga business osiyana-siyana, ena ndi ma business ting'ono-ting'ono, komanso ena ma business akuluakulu. Amalawi ali ndi mantha kuti pali katundu wina amene amati akaoda mwina makhala kuti mwina asanafike ku Malawi kuno mwina waphwanyika. Zimenezi zikuoneka kuti anthu sanakondwe nazo kwambiri. Ndimangofuna ndidziwe inu kuno ku nyumba yachifumu pa nkhani imene kuti mutatambasula bwinobwino za bilu imeneyi ndithu. Ndafusafusa limeneli kufusira anthu amene akutimvera, amene akutionera, chifukwa ndafusafusa limene chichewa. Fuso lina blani ndi nkhani yokhudzana ya kukhoti. Mamulumuzana amene ndithu amaweruza milandu yosiyanasiyana m'dziko muno, pachizungu amati ma judges. Pakuvekanso mphekesera kuti boma la Tonse Alliance likufuna ndithu majaji amenewa azayika pa ma contract. chimene anthu ambiri akuoneka kuti atsamwa nacho adzidzimuka nacho komanso bungwe lija la Malawi Law Society limene limaonekera ndithu za malamulo limaperenga ndithu upangiri laonekanso kuti lakhudzidwanso ndi nkhani imeneyi akudabwa kuti kodi anthu amenewo akayikidwa pa macontract inu mmadziwa munthu plan akalembedwa ntchito pa contract ngati wagwira ntchito bwino kwambiri mabwana akamampanga ndithu kumpanga kupatsa contract ena ngati sanagwire bwino ntchito samampatsa anthu akuona ngati kuti mwinatu majajiwa atu azikhala ndithu ndili mantha kuti ndikapereka chigamulo ichi contract yanga sandipangira renew komanso pomwepo plan nkhani yokhudzana kumajaji komweko boma la Tonse Alliance taona ndithu likupereka mwayi kwa anthu kukagwira ntchito kuchama tikunja kuma embassies umodzi wa majaji wapatsidwa ndithu akakhale wachiwiri kumene ku deputy ambassador pa chizungu kumayiko a Ulaya kodi zimenezi plan kwinuyo kuno kunyumba chifumu simukuona kuti zikuoneka kuti zikhoza kupereka ndithu kachiopsezo pang'ono ngati kuti mufuna kugwedetsa kwa kubungwe ya makhoti chifukwa chonena kuti ena kunena kuti majajizi amakhala ndi milandu yambiri yoti aweruze ndiye mukwatumiza ku embassy kodi pamene pa plan mungafotokoze bwanji zomwe kwambiri plan mafunso anga ndi amene. Thank you.
Ndikuyamikeni kwambiri inu bambo Saka chifukwa cha mafunso wanu atatu. Nkhani za misongo ndi nkhani zimene we can comment on that because it has been discussed. I think it's been passed ku parliament. Koma mwina what we know is kuti simunazimvetse bwino chifukwa ku parliament iko anazifotokoza bwino kunena kuti ngati inuyo mmagula galimoto muli ndi tax clearance chifukwa ukamatumiza zinthu ukamagula zinthu kuchokera kunja ku MRA kuchama kupatsa chikalata chimene chimakulola iweyo kuti ukhoza kulipira msongo sikuti mu zipereka anything in advance kapena kulipira misongo. I think ku parliament ko nkhani imene yonso inafotokoza bwino komanso MRA akhoza kufotokoza bwino maybe better than imene ndingafotokozere ine chifukwa it's their field of expertise. Koma pali makampani ena amene they don't have the tax clearance samadziko kuti amapanga chani amene aja ndi ofunika kuti adzipereka. I'm told it's only 3% ya ngati kachiponda bwalo kuti kodi tikudziweni ndinu ndani katundu yakabwera tikakupezani kuti. So it's not the way many mafotokozeramo. Everything remains normal. Ndipo palibe chifukwa chodera nkhawa. I think what government wants to know is kunena kuti ngati mukubweretsa zinthu kodi zikalowa zinthu zotika kupezani kuti, especially those amene alibe tax clearance. And I think that also answers your question. Pankhani ya majaji ma contracts ndimaona ngati kuti tisalole a president ayankhire pankhani imeneyi because it's being tabled ku parliament. What malamulo a dziko lino amalola nkunena kuti nkhani ikabwera ku parliament aphungu ayikambirane ndipo tonsefe sitingapite ku parliament kuti tikakambirane nkhani tidatumiza ma representatives amene ndi aphungu a nyumba ya malamulo kumene kuja kuli dongosolo limene amayikambira nkhani. Komanso chinthu chikapititsidwa ku parliament sindiye kuti basi they are under duress kuti chitani pasi zimenezi kumene kuja imapita ku committee imapita ku legal affairs kuti akambirane bwinobwino. Aphungu anu inuyo mukhoza kwauza kuti izi ayi ndipo tonsefe timakambirana kumene kuja because we are represented. Aphungu akapanga zoyenerera pa nkhani imeneyi. Koma popeza kunena kuti parliament is an independent arm of government ndimaona ngati kuti sibwino kuti ife kuno tithirire mulomo pa nkhani zimene they are actually being discussed tikulankhula pano. So Parliament is an independent arm of government. Agambirana nkhani zimenezo azimvetsetsa bwinobwino akapanda kuti sadamvane amanenanso kunena kuti izi ife sitigwirizana nazo nkhani imapezeka kuti yabwerera. I'll give you an example, nkhani ya abortion inabwerera. So ndizofunika kuti tizimvetse bwino koma ndimaona ngati kunena kuti because nkhani it's being discussed now ifenso tisayikambirane kunoku chifukwa takhulupirira aphungu athu kuti ayimvetsetsa biluyo kaya ndi constitution amendment ayimvetsetsa ayikambirana akapanda kumvana bwinobwino zimabwerera. Koma President Chakwera believes kunena kuti these arms of government they are independent. Koma kuti tikanena kuti position ya President Chakwera ndi pamene nkhani so ili mbwalo ku parliament iko tikhala ngati tikulakwa. Koma let's trust our legislators there kuti they will do a good job and they will scrutinize these bills, deny them or pass them in parliament. Your third question ili pankhani ya kodi boma limeneli likupanga bwino potumiza majaji ku foreign service. Nkhani ndimafuna mudziwe kunena kuti ngati pali president amene wachita zinthu zamphamvu ku khotiko ndi President Chakwera. Posachita pompano anasankha majaji a Supreme, aku High Court, komanso ma magistrate. In fact, kumene kwa President Chakwera has done much in as far as the appointment of judges is concerned. Kutenga awiri mwa ambiri amene awasankha kumene kungotenga awiri kuti mukati emirire. In fact, if you talk of Justice Chombo ndiye kuti achita retire, so we are only talking of Justice Patemba. Koma ndimafuna mumvetsetse kunena kuti United Kingdom kumene Justice Patemba akupita, it's a very strategic partner for Malawi. It was the view of President Chakwera kunena kuti titumize kumeneko an expert in administration kuti akachite beef our embassy kumeneko, because UK is very strategic for Malawi. It was on that basis, looking at her stellar record kumena akhala kugwira, the government thought kunena kuti we might need her services to serve Malawi better with our strategic partner, the United Kingdom. Then mafuna so ndinene kuti the appointment of these judges is at their discretion. Akhoza kunena kuti ai ndina yamika kuti munandikumbuka koma ndikhala ku khoti konkuno. Sindiye kunena kuti ndiye kuti basi ndi at gunpoint kuti pitani. Osankhidwa olata kusankhani inuyo asaka akuti mukati imirire ku Israeli mukhoza kunena kuti ai ine ndikadali konkuno ndi kufuna kuti ndikayimire ku kasungu ndiye ndikhalabe konkuno. Sindiye kunena kuti akakusankha ukhoza kukakamizidwa kuti upite. Iwo majajiwo aliso ndi ufulu onena kuti ai ine ndikuganiza kuti ndikhalebe konkuno. By being appointed kukhala envoys kwina sindiye kuti asiya kukhala judge. Atasankha kupita akabweranso adzakhala judge. So I also want you to know kunena kuti we are only taking two when we have appointed ambiri ku khoti. Let's take another question. Yes, sir. Yes.
Di mafuna tidziwe malingana ndi nkumano wa Zodiak omwe unachitika posachedwa apa kuti Zodiak ikhala ikulumiza asilikali ake kukhazikitsa bata mu dziko la Mozambique. Nde pakumveka sompheketsera kuti bungwe la UN nalonso mwina labwera ndi ganizo langati lomwelo timafuna tidziwe kuti mwina position ya president ndiyo tani monganso momwe kuti posachedwa apo president akhala wapampando wa bungwe limene zikoma kwambiri.
Mati dzina nda?
Lovemore Komo.
Lovemore. Ndikuyamikeni kwambiri inu bambo Lovemore kuchokera ku Fulu FM. Funso limeneli President Chakwera akhala akufunsidwa in all the trips, tapita ku Botswana, tapita ku Mozambique kangapo, lakhala kufunsidwa. And if you recall what President Chakwera has been saying on this matter, nkunena kuti this is a security matter. Sitingakambirane pano kunena kuti kodi Malawi achita bwanji atumiza asilikali ngati ndi zina zotero. But the request, when it is made, Malawi will respond. Koma mfundo imene anagwirizana ku Zodiak ndionena kuti mpofunika kuti maiko atumize asilikali kuti akathandize ku Mozambique. The leaders acknowledge kuti there is a problem ku Mozambique. Koma we may not be able to discuss the nitty-gritty of the security arrangements on the same for the fact that it is a security matter. Yes, is that Matthews? Yes, please.
My name is Matthews Kasanda from Times.
Yes.
One of the issues that came out yesterday from APM, it was to do
If you may put your microphone close to your mouth.
Yeah, I'm Matthews Kasanda from Times.
Yeah.
One of the issues that came out yesterday from APM, it says, Boma, Lalipela, Kumanga, and prosecute and hamini IDP amene Daudi amaba. Ndipo akuti panobaso kukubedwa kwambiri. Mwina a president akuti po change kwadi ndikulephera kubweretsa umboni to prove kuti anthu amabadi. So what's the stand of the State House? Thank you.
Ndikuyamikeni kwambiri. I want to thank you, Mr. Kasanda, for your question. As we said that we have categorized the issues raised by the former president in segments. And we don't want to demean him. We respect the former president as someone who occupied the office of the president. We believe that we don't want to get involved in name calling or finger pointing. What we believe is that all of us as Malawians, we have a duty to save the Malawian people, taking them out of poverty. Iwo wakudziwa what they did with the administration when they were in power. Iwo wakudziwa that some of the challenges that President Chakwera is facing today is because of their doing. Komano, as we have said, as State House, we don't want to get involved in that kind of politicking, name calling, and all sorts of stuff. So I want you to also respect the position that we have taken as State House with the responses that the Director of Communications has made on the same. Yes, Kathy.
It's Cafe Maulidi from MIJFM. I just want to follow up on the issue of public sector reform report.
Yeah.
What is the status at the moment? Mwina paka dalipa topa kuti paka lekutsatira za report imeneyi KOPC. Have they started adopting the recommendations in the report? What is the status? There has been silence since that time.
Thank you, Kathy. We have dealt with that question more than twice. What we have said, and it still remains our answer, though you want to change the way of questioning, but the point remains that the report was submitted to His Excellency the President. The President is looking at that particular report. What we have also said from the beginning is that all the decisions that the president will make based on the recommendations of that report, you will be told. So if the president makes a decision based on the advice that he has received or he has gotten from that report, the Malawian people will be told on the same. But as we have said, President Chakwera gets counsel from cabinet, from parliament, from all quarters of the society, from the members of the clergy. When he makes decisions, he doesn't have kuti achirona kuti ndinakumana ndazibusa ndienda pangamokuti makuti. But in this matter, what we are saying is all the recommendations that have been given to him, if the president decides to use those recommendations, the Malawian people will be told. And we have said that it is a recommendation. These are recommendations. The president gets counsel. He can decide to take counsel or not, depending on how he looks at that particular issue. Yes, sir.
Winston Kaimira kuchokera ku Zodiak.
Yes, Mr. Kaimira.
Ndi mafunso atatu.
Yeah.
Loyamba ndi nkhani yowunika cabinet yomwe ya president Chakwera ananena kuti idzichitika kawiri. Panopa chaka chatha mu ulamuliro wa mgwirizano wa tonse. Cabinet sinasinthepo, a former president anatchulanso amuthalika kuti nawonso akudabwa kuti bwanji palibenso kuunika kumene kumpaka na kufikira pano. Kodi lero mutiuza zotani kupita chitsogolo potengeranso kuti anthu ena amangoganiza kuti mwina chifukwa cha parliament kukambirana mwina sanga sinthe cabinet kapena tiyembekeze posachedwa kuti cabinet isinthe kutsogoloko. Nkhani ina ndi ya former president omweyo dzulo anakamba kutenga mawu a m'Baibulo kuti dzanja lalemba pa khoma zinachitika mokuti pano akuona kuti president Chakwera walephera ngati mmenenso zinachitikira mbuyo amakamba choncho. Ndimafuna mwina muta yankhapo pa zimenezi. Former president aona kuti sakuona chilichonse chomwe boma akulachita actually lalephera kwa iwowo. Mwina munakayankhabe pamenepa ngakhale mumakamboti zina zosafunika kuzibweretsanso pagulu. Nkhani ina imene ili kunjaku ndi yokhudza kubweza ziganizo kwa boma la tonse, kupanga chiganizo kenako kusintha kuti ayi mwachitsanzo Independence Day celebrations ndalama tazitsitsa tsopano sipangaso makuti anthu ena akuona ngati kuti pena pake boma la tonse likumakhala ngati ziganizo zake silinazunikire bwinobwino kumambiro komwe. Siko.
Ndikuyamikeni kwambiri inu Mr. Kaimira kuchokera ku Zodiac chifukwa cha mafunso anu, and I think we'll finish with you chifukwa cha nthawi. Ndimafuna ndiyambe ndi nkhani ya 6 July kapena kuti Independence Day. Nthawi imene preparations for the 6th July or independence celebrations were being worked on, sindiye kuti tayamba dzulo, boma sinayambe dzana kunena kuti kuli 6 July. If you remember 5 weeks ago, the positivity rate was very minimal. Infection rate, you could see kunena kuti there was a gleam of hope pa nkhani ya COVID. But every pandemic is fluid in nature. And this is why now and again government reviews what should be done, what should not be done. Infection rate numbers akakuta kutsika. There were some liberties that were also given to the people of Malawi. Zikakakuti zikukwera pamakhala kuti tikuyika some other restrictions. Koma ndimafuna ndinene kuti independence celebrations must be marked. Chifukwa, this is a very important day imene Malawi anakhala Malawi. Sitingangoyiwaliratu. Olo inuyo tsiku lanu limene mabadwa ngakhale mutakhala kuti mulibe kalikonse kumbe mmayesetsabe kuti muchiteke nakake. And this is why government litaona kunena kuti the numbers are not looking good in terms of infection. Inapezeka kunena kuti inakhala kuti iyasintha. So with the third wave, you can see kunena kuti the pandemic has been evolving. The decisions that were made 6 weeks ago regarding the 6th July, titafika towards 6th July, the government decided kunena kuti tiwunikenso bwino, because 6 weeks ago, the numbers were different with where we are right now. The government is continuing to review how the pandemic is moving, and decisions are being made. Mwina titseke our ports of entry. Tipange motere. Koma, ngakhale inuyo mukadwala. Mumapezeka kuti malingana ndi matendawo, mwina timwe kapana lomuwiri, kapena yayi, tapiritse kwa ICU, ndi mmeneso how government is managing this pandemic. Zinthu zina, depending on many situation ilili, we can do this. 6 weeks ago, titaona kuti tipange bwanji ndi celebrations tipange chonchi. Tafika towards the celebration, tipange bwanji, kunja kusiku libwino. Let's cancel all what we planned 6 weeks ago. Then we are going to do this. Koma nimafuna ndinene kunena kuti we cannot completely forget about 6th July, because this is a reminder of where we are coming from. 6th July, sitingango isiya, we still need to, ngakhale maiko amene ali pa nkhondo, ngakhale maiko amene ali ma challenges osiyana-siyana, amakumbukirabe kunena kuti this is the day where we got our independence. Sitingango siratu. We have to do something, but we are doing something very minimal. 200 people, aliyensa aonere pa television, tichite mapemphero. I think we still need to remember this day. This is the day Malawi was born. Sitingango iwaliratu. Nkhani yanu ya cabinet imene inso tinakamba, ndipo takhala tikukamba kwambiri kunena kuti President Chakwera amafuna kuti inuyo aMalawi mudzidziwa chimene boma lake likupanga. Ndiye tisachite abuse the way imene president ali nayo kunena kuti akufuna kuti mudzidziwa. And this is why, this is a classic example. He mandated us kuti tidzikuuzane what his government is doing, what he is doing every day. Mudzidziwa kuti president wana amene munamuyika ku Kamuzu Palace lero akukumana ndi wakuti. That's what President Chakwera wants Malawian people to do, or to know. Now, nkhani ya cabinet tinanena kunena kuti the president was looking at all what we said. But then I also explained kunena kuti the president can change his mind. Kuti ndimafuna ndionane nanu mawa, koma mawa sitonana. Sindiye kuti ndi mlandu. Inu tikhoza kugwirizana akayimira kuna kuti tikumane pa chiweru. Ine pa chiweru paja mwina president andituma pena pake. So I can tell kuti sitikumana. Sikuti inuyo you should feel offended, because tikhoza kukumanabe at some other time. So what I am actually saying, kunena kuti, the president is very committed to making sure that Malawian people are served better. Koma pankhani ya cabinet, sinkhani yoti tizikambirana pano, sinkhani yoti tizikambirana kuti a president asinthaliti ndona zawo. Because malamulo anawapatsa a president mphamvu yosintha cabinet. And I have answered this question many times. I don't know why it still keeps on coming. The president can decide to have his cabinet today and he change it in the afternoon. No one is going to question him. because that's a prerogative that he has. He can decide kunena kuti ndisintha mawa akhozanso kusankha osanena and just kutidzidzimutsa tonsefe. So I don't want us to dwell on this matter because inuyo akayimira mukudziwa kuna kuti the prerogative malamulo mphamvu zimene tidampatsa president, and that mphamvu siyo kambirana kuti tabwera tipange chonchi mphamvuzo zikumpatsa president to assemble his team mene angaonere without discussing with anyone. I don't know if I'm very clear there, because that's what the prerogative says. Asankhe cabinet ngati head of state without any kind of influence or anything. Secondly, I think I have answered that. I don't know if Nkhani ya Mutharika. Tisatero ineyo I don't want kuti tisinthane mawu nda Mutharika. Tisasinthane mawu iwo wadzilemekeze ife timawalemekeza. Koma kuti tidziponyana mawu sichikhala chinthu chabwino. President Chakwera has only been in office for 1 year, 365 days. Sitingapange zonse in 1 year. And I have said that there are things that will be done in the first year as the budgets are continuing to be presented in Parliament, but and the signs are there. AIP has been done. Free duty week, it's being done. I've just given you zambiri zimene tapanga. But for someone to say kuti sakuona kalikonse, ndimaona ngati kunena kuti ngati also dziko tikanasiya politicking ndikuyamba kugwira ntchito yotukula dziko. Because sikalekale taponya voti licha kuti munthu akanena kuti palibe chino mapanga. Maiko wena amati akaponya voti amamba asiya zida zonse zandale pansi ndikutukula dzikolo. Koma kunoko kuponya voti lero ndikuti mawa anthu ayamba kale campaign ya 2025. Sitingatukuke. Nimeona ngati kuti as Malawian people tigwirane manja so that we develop this country. Nthawi ya ndale tidzipanga za ndale, nthawi yotukula dziko tidzipanga zotukula dziko. Koma sitingaponye masankho 1 year ago ndiye pano tayamba kale kukangana za 2025. Maiko amene akutukuka samapanga choncho. Tapempha Mutharika, tapempha chipani cha DPP ndiye naotero kunena kuti we have a country to develop. Whether you are DPP or MCP kajani koma kwathu ndikonkuno. TNT tipange zinthu zotukula dziko la Malawi. Chifukwa palibe kumene tikupita, we are here. This is the only country that we have. Koma zokokana majekete kutani sizitithandiza. We have to develop this country. And this country under President Chakwera will be developed. I think we need to leave it there, and I want to sincerely thank you, members of the press, for coming. We wish we had more time. I wanted to take your question, but maybe we can take it later. I want to thank you for coming, and we'll see you after 14 days. Thank you.